Okay, I'm here with Mr. Axelrod. What do you think about the speech that Ted Cruz gave last night?
Well, obviously it wasn't well received by the Trump forces. Look, I think he went there to to make a full-throated statement for his conservative principles, and he did that. I assume he, did that with eyes wide open. That all the words that some of those people wanted to hear was vote for Donald Trump. But I think he's making a larger calculation about where this all is going, and had some personal reasons not to do that.
Now, in politics, a lot of things get said personally. Do you think he let that get to him too much?
Well, I mean, I don't want to put myself in his shoes. Those were some harsh words that were exchanged. I think that's part of the equation. I think the other part is that there are a lot of people who are thinking about what happens if Trump doesn't win, and how do you position yourself relative to 2020 if he doesn't. And I suspect that was part of the equation as well. But look, I mean, those are some harsh blows that he took. So I take him at his word that factored into.
What if that backfires and people blame Cruz if Trump loses?
There's risk. There's risk in everything, right?
Everybody.
There are three guys made different calculations last night. Scott Walker gave a full-throated endorsement.
Right.
Marco Rubio gave a video endorsement, so he said it had 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out the door. And Cruz did what Cruz did, and all of those will be tested by time as to their wisdom and risk.
But wasn't there another option to do what Reagan did in 1976 and say, we have a choice in this election and winning is better than losing, and didn't have to say the words "I endorse,"
yes,
but could have made it clear that he supported the party.
And
come back as Reagan
no doubt
did.
There are other approaches he could have. There are other approaches he could have taken.
What would you have advised him to do?
I don't know that he'd want my advice. Megan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I've been watching you on CNN every night. Always the best commentary.
Thank you.
But if you had to, and if he wanted your advice, if he had called you and said, what would you advise me to do? I'm not prepared to endorse Donald Trump. How do I respond to this invitation to speak?
Well, I think he thought he had it covered at the end when he said, vote your conscience. I mean, and the real question isn't Ted Cruz. The real question is, Donald Trump's the guy whose name is on the ballot. And would it have been better to take Cruz's vote your conscience as do what Gingrich did and say,
and spin it.
Yeah, and spin it, and let the story be Mike Pence, who gave a very good speech last night, rather than the story be about, this raucous display in the hall, which I think was, orchestrated to some degree by the floor whips from the Trump campaign.
Let me ask a question, and looking toward tonight's speech. Now we're looking forward, not backward. What would you say that Trump needs to do to address Ted Cruz's speech?
Well, I don't think he has to do anything to address Ted Cruz's speech. I think Trump needs to focus on what Trump needs to focus on. And and this would not be in keeping necessarily with the perspective of the Breitbart constituency,
sure.
But he needs to figure out how he counts to the number of voters he needs to win an election. And he needs to reassure people that he is prepared to be president of the United States, that he has the depth and humanity that people want in a president. And this speech is an opportunity for him to display some of that.
What if Bernie Sanders were to come to the convention next week and say, I can't support Hillary Clinton? What effect would you think that might have?
I think that it would be supremely odd, since he stood with her and endorsed her a couple of weeks ago.
Theoretically, what would the impact have been of the similar response on the other side?
Well, if I were advising her, I would have advised her, and he did that, I would have advised her to do the same thing I would advise Trump to do, which is to spin it as best you can and move on and not let it dominate the story. I got to run now.
Okay, thanks for your time.